We need to have friends. People have to like us. So we know inside out exactly what is in and what is not in. It's a little invisible Quran that exists, and we follow it to the letter, and we're so afraid not to follow it, because in our head it has become very clear that we need to get friends, and this is how we get friends. Getting friends involves doing what my friends are doing, and I have to kind of dress like them, and I have to kind of talk like them, and I have to kind of have the things that they have, and so on and so forth, so that I will have a higher chance to be able to have those friends.
I just want to add, I think, I just added in what you want to say. It's they say that there's two things that actually push someone to do something, which is fear and what did I say? Fear and the other one was greed. Yeah. So I think that adds on to what you're trying to say.
Okay, I'm gonna just take some interventions from our sisters. Introduction and what the Quran plays in your life. Any sister, or else we, get Hadi to blindfold and just go like this, to make it more fun or something. Okay, so sister, go ahead. I'm sure you're here to learn and to share. Today is the age of sharing. YouTube, Facebook, everybody's into sharing. Wikipedia, everybody. You're what counts, and so on and so forth. So everybody's voice counts, and it's gonna bring wisdom to everybody else. Your name, sister, and I need you to talk genuine things that if you feel are right for you. This makes sense to you, not what others think or what others like to hear. It's what you can stand for.
What the Quran is for me?
Yes.
Is Mona, and the Quran for me, it's a book that I'm supposed to read and apply whatever God says as much as I can.
Okay, that's good. Anything else? So let's take that for a minute. Okay, I feel the same way. I share that with you. Do you understand Arabic very well? When you read the Quran, do you understand the Arabic?
Sometimes.
Okay. Is there any reciter that you like maybe more than another? Could you tell me? Let's go back a bit. Is there an experience in which you had a connection with the Quran, something that touched you? It can be, and if there's nothing, it's fine. It's valuable, right? That means that this is a step forward, right? And there's no one to blame. It's not you that has to be blamed or others. So can you tell me an experience in which you were touched by the Quran, or the Quran helped you, or you felt something special with regards to the Quran? Okay, that's important, and that's really good to know, right? The Quran, the reason why, you see, let's go back to the beginning, right? It's important to go back to the beginning. In the beginning, that was when Prophet Muhammad, we're going to take that point as the beginning, because that was the initial start of the Quran. In the beginning, when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was living in Arabia, okay, at that time, the world was in a particular way, okay? In Arabia, everything that you could consider, I'm not saying people were demons and they were just inhuman and savages. They were human beings, but they were doing everything possible that would bring them suffering and misery. The strong would eat the weak. People did not have a good sense of understanding of women. Women did not have any value. Okay, people fought wars constantly. The women were being buried alive, right? That young girls, and people were just dying out of hunger. You had the rich and you had the poor. That's in Arabia. Vendettas, 50-year war vendettas were going on. 100-year war vendettas, sometimes longer, between people for the stupidest things. Okay? Could you tell me places in the world where this is happening right now? It is. Is there any places, could somebody point out places in the world where this is happening right now?
Africa.
Huh?
Africa.
In Africa, for example, in Africa right now, there's large quantities of people that are dying for all of the reasons. It's a full continent where there's people that are, first of all, their resources are being taken from them. They die in large numbers in battles that take place between them. There's poverty that people are dying from poverty-stricken conditions. But we can also take it closer. There's people in our countries as well that are basically dying out of all kinds of oppressions. We don't end up feeling those things right now because we're living in a bubble where we feel like everything's okay, but it's going to catch up to us eventually. Okay, so all around the world there is suffering, and guess what? In that suffering, in Arabia, I need to talk about a particular class of people. There was a particular class of people that were rich, and they were doing very, very well. They were not affected by any of the things that were going on. In fact, they were either participating in this suffering that was going on around them, and there's people that were actually silent about that oppression that was happening around them. And that faction of people, who does that remind you of the most in our day and time? So we talked about the rich and the poor. Like we talked about people dying under those conditions, and we went to Africa or third world countries. So right now, and Africa is many, many miles away, right? So give me an example of those rich people that are either taking part in this or being silent about it. Who are these people? I see where you're going. Who are these people? Examples. Who can be the people that can actually be that faction of society? It's really hard when people come in and come out with it. It's very hard to focus. But it's okay. I'm going to be very patient. Inshallah.
I think it's...
I know you know the answer. I want to hear the others. Who can be that part of society that represents those people who are either taking part directly or indirectly, or being silent about the oppression that was going on? And what do we think and how do we look at those people now, 1,400 years later? It's okay, we got lots of time.
We condemn those that never did nothing when Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was getting butchered in the plains of Karbala. But if it was our turn, maybe we'd be silent again. Because we have shown that we are actually behaving that way. When other people, innocent people, are getting affected around the world, as long as it's not affecting me, I'm living happily.
Right. So, can anybody support that? Do you agree with that? Does that make sense to you? I need to hear what you guys feel, what you guys think. There's no lecture here today.
I agree with that. I think that even some people say if they're ignorant about something, like where their tax money is going, they could be participating indirectly to something that could be causing a lot of harm to others without realizing. And the fact that they're just not getting informed, keeps them silent as well. So it could be just, like, for example, America and their foreign policies and the way they treat other people in different countries, and the Americans that are paying the tax money, they could be the silent ones.
So, does what she's saying make sense? And if it does, I'm going to pick out people in the crowd. Really, there's nothing to be afraid of. We all come to these events, and we will attend many such events in the future, where we're going to be in front of a crowd and there's going to be other people. And we're going to be listening to them, they're going to be expecting us to speak. At one point in time, we're going to realize, you know what? I'm going to say what I have to say. And it makes sense, and there's really nothing to be afraid of. We're here to share, and whatever we share is actually something that is going to help us grow and help others grow. So let's remember that. She's saying that there's problems that are happening around the world. Is that true? Could somebody mention such problems and help us see that? Because maybe what she's saying doesn't make sense.
Well, there are the problems that are happening in the Muslim countries nowadays, like the Bahrain, Yemen, and other countries.
Mhm.
Well, the problems that were always happening in Palestine and Lebanon, and yeah, and it's been going on for a long time now.
Mhm.
And but specifically nowadays, it's going on in Bahrain, Yemen, and other countries. I think Syria also started. We see that the innocent people they chose to say what they have to say, because as you said, there's nothing to be afraid of.
So Yemen, Bahrain, and
Yemen, Bahrain, Syria.
Syria. How many people died in the last month in Yemen, Bahrain, and Syria? Right? A lot of people. How many?
I don't have an exact
Estimate.
number.
Like maximum. You think how many people died? Like if we hear the news, probably hundreds. We could say about 1,000 died in those countries over the last
I
month.
think more.
And the people who are injured are much more, in the thousands.
Yeah.
If we say 5,000 died, and we say 15,000 were injured, right?
Yeah.
5,000 died and 15,000 were injured. Yeah. That's a very big number. But there's much more that have died all around the world. There's much more that are dying all around. صلوا على
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ثانية على حب الحسن والحسين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
على حب الزهراء بأعلى أصواتكم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
You need to text message Mahmoud and tell him that he's gonna have to attend, or else. So it's welcome to everybody. Maybe there was a time change I didn't know about, but alhamdulillah, we're all here now. Basically, yes. So just sorry, I have a weakness, which is I really can't focus when everything is moving around. I really lose my focus in that regard. I want us to realize that there's a problem, right? Because we don't realize that there's a problem. That's the fact of the matter. That's just the fact of the matter. And even when we realize that there's a problem, we don't know where to find the solution, right? So most of us here don't realize that there's a problem. If we did, we'd be a lot more stressed than now. And if we did, there would be a bigger portion of us that would hopefully pick up the book and start reading it and start reflecting about it and really seeing that this is the answer. This is something that is not just the answer, because the sister, as she said, and others, myself as well, I have this view, she said it. This is something we have to do, and we do it because it's the right thing. We apply it, we get the right result. That's what we're taught. That's what everybody around us does. We don't see really. Hopefully, they're even doing that. Most people stop doing that actually, right? So we don't see a living example. We don't see a problem, and we don't see a solution. We're living in the matrix, all of us. Okay, and that matrix is gonna fall down on our heads eventually. It's just a question of time. I just want you to think about all the people in history. When you watch the movie, like, I don't know, Titanic. Everybody here watched Titanic? Everybody probably watched Titanic, right? Anybody? I'm not gonna ask that question. Most people watched Titanic, right? Those people who watched Titanic, you remember the part where the people were leaving the ship? There were certain people that were rich, that were well off, and so on and so forth, and they were actually leaving the ship, and there was a whole drama about that. They were showing how these people were ready to just get on the boat. They were cutting the rescue from people who didn't have the means to make it, and they were just fine with that. Do you guys remember this? Or is it too long ago, the movie? It's still a big movie, but this most of you remember this? Yes? How did we feel about those people when we were watching that movie? Can anybody tell me that didn't share with us his perspective yet? How did you feel about the people who were doing that in that movie when you were watching it? Musa, did you watch it? Yeah? Do you remember how you felt when? Did you remember that scene that I'm talking about? When there were certain small boats, just